Greetings, Internet. My name is Chris, and I want to show you something that I've been working on for the past few days. So I've been asked by quite a lot of people if I was going to update my Werewolf build that I made in the past. So I logged on to my Templar, which is the character I'm on right now, and I messed around a little bit. I checked out the Werewolf form in PvP and stuff. I only made one change. I changed the class to the class of life. And it brings me to a very important issue that I'm having with Werewolf at the moment. So currently, outside of Werewolf form, I just have, Rally and Vigor as my two heals. But those two together give me about 4 times the amount of survivability that I get in Werewolf form. Which is kind of the whole problem I'm having with it. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's the different gear I'm using or whatever, but I'm not getting the same amount of damage out of my Werewolf form as I used to. And it feels like everyone and their mother is running some kind of poison build or some kind of disease build, something that, werewolves take extra damage from. Actually, I'm not sure if it's disease. I do know it's, let's see, it's definitely poison though. Yeah, 25% more from poison attacks. So I find myself often dying a lot more in werewolf form than outside of werewolf form. So I ended up sort of like going away from werewolf form at the moment. So I'm not gonna actually update the werewolf form build. So that's that's not why I'm here. But I will say if you're gonna like focus on mostly using werewolf form, I would recommend using Salvation. You can get this in VR16 now. This was the set that a while back was super bugged with the weapon damage, but now it's it's back to normal, and it's kind of nice because it gives you in VR16, which I'm reporting 160, it gives you 150 weapon damage when you're in werewolf form, and then you would use 5 pieces of Salvation and 3 pieces of agility. Not even sure I have it. Agility, and then Molekina or Velazreth or something. So what I want to show you today is a little something I call Widow Sting, and I'll just explain why I call it this. So it's actually pretty obvious because the 2 sets I'm running are Widowmaker and the Viper. And Widowmaker is one of the new sets introduced with the Cradle of Shadows. And you can see it does weapon crit, max stam, and then when your alchemical poison fires, deal 9,337 poison damage to nearby enemies. So it's an AoE explosion. And then the Viper is the same, basically the same 2, 3, and 4 piece, just shifted around. So it gives the same kind of crit and stam, which is really nice. So you can see in crit we get 54 on one bar, 59 on the other, so that's really nice. And then the Viper is 5 piece is poison damage on melee attacks with a 4-second cooldown. And you can see I'm running Viper jewelry here. You could also swap it around and run. Do I have it here? I do not. But you could swap it around and run, Widowmaker jewelry, which is probably a lot easier to get than Viper, and you don't have to pay for it because you can trade it with your friends. And then as my weapons, I have a sharpened battle axe, a maelstrom battle axe, and a sharpened, well, not a sharpened, sorry, a charged maelstrom bow. I don't actually have a better bow, but honestly, for this, you just want weapons that are sharpened. Because if I take off the poison here, also, yeah, we're running poison on both bars, by the way. You can see the effect that it does. It's a critical charge. It's only 5.1k over 5 seconds, which that would be half in PvP. So it's a really shitty enchant, the Merciless Charge. I kind of wish they wouldn't have nerfed it. It made it pretty worthless in my opinion. But it does give weapon damage, which is really nice. And the weapon damage will still be there even if you have poison on, but you just won't be able to use the Merciless Charge effect, which I don't mind because I think it's garbage. For my bars, I run the exact same setup as before. I just changed the morph of Dawnbreaker to Smiting. But yeah, it's just Poison Injection, Lethal Arrow, Vigor, Repentance, Camouflage Hunter, Dawnbreaker Smiting, and this is on my bow bar. On the other one, on my 200 bar, I have Critical Rush, Wreck and Blow, Executioner, Rally, Camouflage Hunter, and then Werewolf form. I don't really use Werewolf form that much, but I have it on that bar for the recovery. You can see it here. Let's see. It's there somewhere. Maybe it's the ultimate. Hold on. Yeah, there you go. While slaughtered, your stamina recovery is increased by 15%, which is really nice. This kind of setup with Widowmaker and Viper is classless, so I've been using it on my Sorcerer as well, which is probably the one I'll use it on the most, just because I prefer playing Sorcerer in PvP. Trying to see if I can get it to proc here. So the Widowmaker is extremely nice for PvP. Let's see, just proc there. It explodes, and when it explodes, it procs Viper as well. You see here, the Widowmaker did 6.8 and the Viper did 7. So Viper procs off of Widowmaker for some reason. You might think that this is a bug, and it probably is. If it is, it's gonna get fixed. You know, and if that happens, that's, you know, just how it is. You could just use a different set. I was thinking, by the way, before I found out that Viper procs on Widowmaker, I was thinking of running Red Mountain, because the Red Mountain can trigger on weapon attacks. The only thing I don't like about the Red Mountain is the fact that the damage it does on a 5-piece. You see, weapon attacks have a 10% chance to cause 7,700 flame damage. So the thing I don't like about that is that it's flame damage, which means it does not scale with stamina or you know, weapon damage or weapon crit, which makes it subpar compared to Viper. Plus, it only has a 10% chance, and it's only on weapon attacks, which you know, just makes it even worse. But yeah, so the Widowmaker and Viper together just make for some incredible burst DPS, especially on players. And you know, at the end here, I'm just gonna show you, show it in action, basically. I kind of hate when people, you know, they make builds and they're like explaining this build. It's like, okay, cool, we've seen your gear, we've seen your abilities, and then they don't actually show, you know, how they would use it, you know, in a fight. I need that red meat, obviously. But yeah, so at the end here, I'm just gonna have, I don't know, like a montage or something, just to show off the effect in PvP. You might think it's pretty weak against these NPCs, and you know, it is compared to other sets. You don't really want to run this in PvE, but in PvP, it's just like some of the best burst DPS you can ever get. It's just crazy. Like, I've killed shield stacking sorcerers several times with this setup, because, you know, if it procs once, you know, it burns through most of their shield, well, actually the entirety of their shield, and then, you know, some of their health, and then frantically, you know, they're frantically trying to get their shields back up, or get some heals on, but then, you know, if it just keeps proccing, or if you keep the pressure up, they won't be able to really recover that health, and then little by little they'll, you know, just slowly die from the dot tick. Oh yeah, I'm also going to show you the poison I'm using. If you're wondering, by the way, yes, the Widowmaker does proc from Werewolf. You see proc right there. So it is something you could use in Werewolf form. But as I said, you know, Werewolf is pretty weak at the moment because everyone's running some kind of poison ability. And I feel like also the Werewolf abilities are way too expensive. Even though, you know, you get a shit ton of extra stamina, but you run out of it so fast because, you know, you need to block, you need to dodge roll. So yeah. Oh yeah, poisons, right? I almost forgot. So the poison I'm using, and this is my poison of choice, is damage health poison 9. I don't know what that really correlates to. I'm not sure what that number means. But yeah, basically what it does is it does 1500 poison damage every second for 3.3 seconds, It increases the cost of your victim's stamina abilities for 60% over 4.3 seconds, and then it deals 1000 poison damage per second for 4.3 seconds. This ends up doing a shit ton of damage. I mean, it's so stupid. Plus the the poison itself can crit. Oh, hey, look, I'm falling. But yeah, it's a stupid amount of damage combined with Widowmaker. And basically, so the reason why this is such a high burst in PvP is because the damage health procs the Widowmaker, and the Widowmaker then procs the Viper. So if you stay at range, you know, if you know the Widowmaker procs, or the poison procs, you know it's also going to trigger Widowmaker and Viper. Which, you know, is just devastating on players. I've found that this this setup is less effective against tank builds, but it's really good against people that are you know, below, like, when people are below like 25k health or about 25k health and don't, you know, block everything, then it's really effective. Alright, yeah, so let me just show you this setup in action. And as I said, it's classless. You don't need to be a templar for this. You can be whatever. And as I said also, I sort of prefer this setup on my sorcerer, just because the sorcerer has the, you know, negate, which is really, really useful. I've used it so many times to great effect in PvP. They have the streak, which is just amazing for moving around. And then, you know, they have surge as well, which helps with the heals. Yeah. Anyway, so there's gonna be a montage at the end, and that's it. Thanks for watching. Ooh.